Good evening and welcome to the Buckland Select Board March 12th, 2024 meeting. It is 5:30. We'll be moving into our appointments. Our first up is we have Christopher Skelly from the Mohawk Trail Woodlands Partnership. He is our representative and he will update the board on the successful Trails Summit held in February and on the grant application of the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program for technical assistance in creating new trails within the town of Buckland. It's not a financial grant. If it's approved, they would be offering their expertise in helping us achieve our goals in developing a network of trails. Our last meeting, we did provide a letter of support for this grant. Chris, welcome.
All right, thank you very much. You covered everything pretty well there. Heather, if you wanted to, is there anything you wanted to add beforehand?
No, this is the Chris Kelly update.
All right, great. So yeah, I am the rep for the Mohawk Trail Woodlands Partnership. The Trail Summit was me just really as a Buckland resident, so it's not necessarily wasn't affiliated with the Woodlands Partnership, but I am your rep for Buckland on the Woodlands Partnership, and certainly the Woodlands Partnership, part of their mission is to think about trails as an interest, as a strategy for recreation, health, economic development, all kinds of things as well there. So there's an overlap, but the Buckland Trails Summit was really just, I'm just interested in creating more trails in Buckland. We enjoy hiking a lot. And I've watched what some of the other towns have done around here, especially Ashfield, and really admired their work. So if you're not familiar with the Ashfield Trails Organization, it's a nonprofit organization separate from the town. And Ashfield, like Buckland, doesn't have much in the way of public lands that would be possible for public trails. Lots of private landowners, and this Ashfield Trails Organization has really worked directly with lots and lots of private landowners to think about how access can be created for trails, and been very successful with it, really impressive. And so they've thought really comprehensively about how a trail network could go across the town of Ashfield in a number of ways. So I'm on the Ashfield Trails quite a bit, and they're really impressive what they've been able to accomplish. So I was like, boy, I'd really like to do something like that in Buckland too. And so I wasn't sure where to start, and partly was just wanting to find out, are there other people who would like to join me and try to think about something like an Ashfield Trails model? And that's how I came up with the idea of a Buckland Trails Summit. Really just trying to bring everyone together that might be interested in trails in Buckland, and have some presentations, talk about what are possibilities there. So we had it here. It was great. So thank you for offering the space, the town hall for the space. We ended up with 60 people in attendance, so we had a really amazing turnout. I was thrilled. So lots and lots of interest in trails for Buckland, and then we had presenters speaking, so I gave a little overview of where Buckland's at right now with trails in terms of not having much in the way of publicly accessible trails, and some of the challenges in terms of things that have changed hands over the years, and so some things that people had access to unofficially in the years past are now changed hands, and they're posted now, so they're not accessible. So less trails. Yeah, just talking. So yes, we have a few trails in Buckland, but really not much that really provides any long distance trails. Nothing that would be kind of a loop, and not much in terms of variety of trails. So I'll get back to that in a minute. And then I just talked about the Buckland Open Space and Recreation Plan that was just done a couple years ago. So I was on the committee for that. And trails was a big part of that plan, just thinking about as a goal, really increasing the number of trails that we have in Buckland. And it'd be great to be able to see that goal of the open space plan implemented. One of the things about trails is just the aspect of the variety of trails that are needed. So as the open space plan pointed out, our changing demographic, we're getting older in town. And that means we really need some different kinds of trails available that aren't going to be hilly, that aren't going to be quite so rocky, some possibilities for some trails that are more accessible, flatter trails for a variety of different users. And so that's one of the aspects of trails that I think we really need to think about some more. So back to the speakers that we had. So I gave the overview of where Buckland's at, and then we had the town of Shelburne speak about their open space, from a member of their open space committee there. And he talked about all of the trails that he's been doing from the Route 2 up to the fire tower area, if you know those trails. So he gave a really great presentation, just talking about all the work he's done over there, which is really amazing. And it was great to hear from a private property owner as well, in terms of just this is how I've done the trails here, and these are the ways that I deal with public access across my property. So that was a great presentation and a wonderful resource over there. Then we had Ashfield Trail speak as well, and again, a great presentation, hearing from a nonprofit organization what they started with and how they've grown into into a full-fledged nonprofit with equipment. They go after grants. They have a number of they have a whole trailer full of tools and things that they use in terms of maintaining all of their trails. He talked about how they work with new property owners because they haven't finished yet. They're still looking at having more trails that are Ashfield trails. So that was a great presentation. And then we did have the Mohawk Trails Woodland Partnership speak as well. She spoke about existing grants that could be used, that are used. Well, actually, Shelburne has gotten some of these grants. And I think Ashfield. So they've given out grants directly for increasing trails. And it was amazing, but we had the National Park Service here as a speaker as well. So I wasn't even familiar with this grant program, but we ended up inviting them, and sure enough, they said, sure, we'd be happy to be here. So she did a great presentation on this grant that we ended up applying for. So I'll talk more about that, finish up on that one. Once she spoke, we had some maps from the Franklin Regional Council of Governments laid out on the table, and they were big, large-scale maps with all the topography, the forest cover, and then most importantly, existing trails, and then all the property lines on the map as well. So you could really see where existing trails are and how some things could be connected. You could kind of get a sense of which property owners we'd really need to be working with the most to make some of these trail connections happen. And those maps were available to write whatever they wanted on, so everyone was around the tables with Sharpie markers, putting all kinds of notes on the maps. So we got some great information there on what people were looking for trails that they'd like to see in town, and also got some great information on property owners that are interested in having some additional trail access. So I've already talked to a few of them already. And then we had a survey. So everyone that attended filled out a survey, and one of the questions is basically what kind of, are you interested in helping out? Would you like to be part of an organizing committee, things like that. So anyway, it was a great day, lots of great energy. I really appreciate everybody that showed up. So, all right, so just finishing up on the grant there. As you mentioned, it's a grant for professional assistance, so it's not a monetary grant. Basically, these are people from the National Park Service that are professionals in terms of working with communities to increase trail access, expanding trails, and they'll work with you on a number of different ways depending on where you're at. So some communities are really specific. We've already got things lined up, and now we need to we just need to actually we're ready to do construction, but we need some technical assistance in terms of bridges and other kinds of ways that trail is going to happen. We're not there at all. So I wasn't even sure whether I should apply for the grant, because I'm like, our vision, I don't even know what our vision is. I mean, well, I'll give you one idea, but in terms of the goals, we don't even have a committee yet, so we're still just kind of thinking about what this would look like right now. But they said apply anyway. So they said we work with communities that are just thinking about vision. I'm really interested in the idea of a trails plan, so coming up with thinking really comprehensively about the whole town, thinking about what do we need throughout the whole community, and looking at in terms of as I mentioned, demographics, in terms of where the existing trails are, in terms of property owners. So Ashfield Trails is one thing to think about, because they've got some trails that would be great to connect up to, and there's some real possibilities in terms of how trails in Buckland could actually connect up into Ashfield. So anyway, those are the kinds of things that I would like to see in a trails plan. So those are some of the things that I put into the application. I don't know whether we'll get the grant for their assistance. I think they're making decisions later this month. But like I said, they were definitely very positive about applying even at this early stage. Let's see. Well, just the only vision that I have is something called the Buckland Circuit Trail, and I mean, it's just, I look on the map and I just go, oh wow, look, that would just be amazing to have something like a Buckland Circuit Trail, because there's little pieces of it already. So if you think about the Lucky Dog Trail, which is off of Elm Street, and that going up into the New England Forestry Foundation property, going up into the Buckland State Forest property. If you're following me, across Bray Road, going down that abandoned portion of Nilman Road. I'm not quite sure what happens after that, but somehow when you look on the map, I can see where a circuit could kind of head back into Shelburne Falls area. So whether it's feasible or not, whether enough property owners would be amenable to having a trail that would be on their property, I'm not sure. But I can see that the real possibilities of Buckland Circuit Trail that followed around Shelburne Falls. And then I think some spurs that would be really neat. The Historical Society is really interested in having some possibilities of an accessible trail, or at least a flat trail that follows the agricultural lands in the back of their property. I mean, if you've already gone down Nilman Road and you're on East Buckland Road, getting over to, say, Wilder Homestead, it's not much of a jump there, so is there a possibility to make that happen? Is there a possibility to get over Buckland Center, since you're already that far? Those are some really neat spurs to think about how that could go off of a Buckland Circuit Trail. So, that's what I'm thinking about, and those are the things that I would like to work with the National Park Service on as well. So that's where I'm at.
I think a good resource for you too would be the Buckland Riders Club,
Yes.
Snowmobile Club. A lot of the trails that you're actually talking about, there's already trails there. So but that's what they're being used for, is for the Snowmobile Club.
Yeah, I agree. Steve Howland's been really helpful, and so in terms of the partners that I applied for the grant, we had to have a number of partners, and thank you for your letter. So you were a terrific partner to have on that grant application. That looks really good to have the town there. But the Snowmobile Riders were one of the partners listed as well.
Yeah, because they already have trails that also connect with Ashfield.
Yep.
As well, and already get up into that area in 2 or 3 different spaces where their trails connect together. So, but good. I'm glad you're diving into it.
Great. It's fun so far. Yeah. Any questions I can help answer?
No, I think I'm good. Heather, did you have anything?
No, just thank you very much for taking it on. That's, the open space plan was, I think, the first project that I joined when I came here in 2019, and trails were, between trails and river access from the Buckland side, those were our two priorities. So I'm glad to see, and we also said that we didn't want the open space and recreation plan to be a book that sat on a bookshelf. So I'm really appreciative that Chris has taken the initiative to make sure that doesn't happen.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
All right, sure. Happy to come back again if you'd like.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a walk in the woods.
Yep.
So the plans that, on trails that you're looking at, are they mostly snowmobile trails or others?
Yeah, it won't be just entirely snowmobile trails. Yeah, but yes, as you mentioned, there's some, it'd be great if there were some snowmobile trails that were open to hikers as well. There's some property owners that would be more concerned, they're fine with the snowmobilers, but the hikers are actually a bit of an issue. And that's, if it's an agricultural field, they don't mind if somebody's going across the snow in the wintertime, but hikers through their agricultural field in the summer is not something that they would want. So, yeah, it's got to be, it would have to be a mix of some snowmobile trails, that, but other possibilities there too.
Lynn?
Thank you. Honey Kelsey, Buckland. Hi. So since there's already a snowmobile clubs already taking advantage of private property, I guess the possibility of property owner liability has already been researched. So what's your position on that?
That's actually one of the easier things to deal with. Just because under state law, if it's a publicly accessible trail, you're very, very limited liability in terms of, I mean, it's just if you were grossly negligent or something.
So it has to be zoned a public trail at some point?
Don't know.
No. So you just say it is and it is?
It's an issue between the private property owner and the private property owner has to agree to fully
Thank
agree.
you. That's what I was going with.
Oh, absolutely.
So they have to agree.
Oh, absolutely,
And they
yes.
have no liability.
Yeah. If they were charging money or something like that, it would be different, but if it's a publicly accessible trail, it's very, very limited liability.
Have you come across a situation that you know where property owners have not been willing to share their property as a trail?
So I know that does come up sometimes. It's overuse or people not respecting the property. One of the things I think that can help with that is having an actual organization. So having Ashfield Trails as an organization that can really be doing some of the monitoring, the signage, really making sure that the users of that trail are respectful to the property that they are crossing. I think that's particularly helpful. So again, I hope that will be helpful here as well.
Good. All right, Chris.
All right.
Thanks for coming in.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right. We are on to our 5:45 appointment. We have Zach Turner who's the president of the Buckland Shelburne Youth Baseball. He's here to talk about some of the upcoming cricket field improvements. Zach met with the members of the rec department and our highway and facilities personnel to consider some changes to the ball field area at cricket. And he's going to provide us with a description of that conversation.
Yeah. So I met with Cindy and Jake and Jeremy, the co-president, and I feel really bad. I forget.
Kay?
Kay. Thank you. Kay from that's going to be doing some greenscaping work out in the other space down at Cricket. There were some projects that we're going to be doing that we need a permission to do, and just some, we have stuff we need to do this year and stuff that we're looking at doing in the future. So I'm kind of just hoping to kill two birds with one stone on the permission there. And then there's some stuff that I spoke to Jake and to Cindy about that, wish list stuff for us to kind of clean the area up. So well, the first and foremost this year, we want to put up a new outfield fence. The existing fence there is older than I am. It was from the Adult Men's Softball League. And it's falling down, it's pretty rusty, pretty haggard. It's also very deep, so kids aren't ever will never hit a ball over it. It's tough probably for a lot of adults to hit a ball over it. So what we'd like to do is to move the fence in to Little League tournament depth, which is, it's about 200 feet down the corners and about 235, 240 straight away. And then what used to be kind of the deep part of our outfield will no longer be needed by the Little League, so we can give that back to kind of that new park section behind it. That old fence can and should be removed, as it's kind of I would hope kids are smart enough not to climb up on it. It's pretty rusty, pretty fallen down. There's a lot of vines and stuff on it. It's pretty ugly.
I think that's what's holding the fence up, are the vines.
I'm pretty sure that is actual. So we're gonna, the league will pay for putting the fence up. We're gonna do it ourselves with some volunteer work. Thankfully, we have some pretty handy local contractors who are also coaches and have equipment. So it shouldn't be too big of a deal. We're gonna put the bill. It's gonna cost town nothing. I just need your permission on this. That'll allow us to do it. And then, in the same vein of this and the fencing, as time allows, maybe we can get it done when we're doing this, or maybe in the future, just as we have some free time and a little bit of extra money, just want to repair the existing fence there. Some of the top bars are bent, so the fence is kind of falling down. This right here is an overhead of Cricket Field. These red dots are just indicative of where the new fence will be. That's where the two corners are. The two corner dots, that actually is 200 feet deep, and the dots I kind of just eyeballed in on real quick.
It's a nice mowing job.
Yeah, that's when Snow and Sons used to do it.
Well, they're doing it now.
If you scroll back up on the top of that map that you just, that yellow line on top right there, I guess it kind of got cut off when I saved it. It says electrical line. One of the things that we're shooting to do I'm hoping before next season, is we need new lights down there. Anybody that's ever been and seen a Little League game down there knows that we have something special. We're a pretty little town to have a field, as nice as this. We're lucky with our volunteers, everybody that takes care of it, and we're lucky that the town, now has designated people to keep the grass nice, because it frees our volunteers up from having to mow to being able to focus on keeping kind of the rest of the ball field area nice. But, we have towns write us every year asking to come play us, just if under the lights. If you have an open Saturday night, we'd love to come play. Problem with our existing lights that we have now is, again, those are older than I am. They're the old, I think they're like magnesium hydride or something. We can only turn them on Saturday nights after 6 o'clock. Anything other than that costs us about $450 if I was to just turn the light switch on and turn it off.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a demand thing through Eversource. New lights that we're going to put up are LEDs, so the draw is significantly less, and I mean significantly less. There's less lights needed because we'll be lighting a smaller field. We can go from like I think that's 6 or 7 pole system down to a 4. Again, the league is looking to fund this ourselves. We're gonna, as soon as the season starts and we can get that rolling, there's gonna be a letter coming out where we're gonna try to start a capital campaign to get new lights up on the field. I have a local contractor, local utility construction company has more or less agreed to do the installation of the lights and the light poles. It's Aztec Energy across the river will do it, and but we just need to raise the funds to buy the material and then talk to. But what we need to do is we need to improve the electrical infrastructure down at the field. So we need to run two-phase service down there. I'm sorry, three-phase service down there, which runs from the can either run it down the right field line, just tee it off on South Street, or come off the corner by like at the old police station and just follow there's some short poles in there that don't have power on them, but would need to figure out how to get a couple poles and run power that way to the building. As it stands right now, we can't ever turn our service off. We can turn the lights off. We can't like turn our meter off for the winter, because when Eversource, if they come and pull that meter out, they won't put a new one back in because they won't indemnify the electrical. It's, yeah, it's always pardon the really rough term, it's always a crapshoot when we flip the lights on, if they're actually going to turn on, which I would hate to see go, because it is really special. You know, this past year for the championship game for the two older divisions, you know, they were played at night. It was raining, it was terrible weather, and there was 300, 400 people down there. Like, you couldn't walk because it was shoulder to shoulder in the rain. You know, there's games down there at least 5 nights a week, or 5 evenings during the week besides that. So field gets heavy usage, which is nice. You know, but it's known. The people who, Clinton and his wife were the president before me and the current president, and all the volunteers they did a great job upkeeping it. And so we've got to kind of step up, because if we lose the lights, I fear we'll lose a lot of the kids that play in that league. I mean, the kids will always play Little League, but I think it'll lose a lot of kind of the specialness of it. We have teams, we just added some teams from Vermont this year came and joined our league. We're going to drive all the way down to play, because
Is something there?
it's not of the quality that the Twin Valley region, the Twin Valley schools, they take their baseball very seriously, and they have a lot of very good volunteers. And not to say anything bad about their volunteers up in Vermont, it just wasn't. They were looking for. They saw what we did down here, and they asked if they could join. So we said sure. Well, it's not that far away.
They started, I think last year was their first year with the Colfax and the Mantle, so the older kids, they came down and joined us on that portion of it.
Yeah, but they came down. The guy who's one of the two presidents there came down and watched our championship game and was like, because I knew you guys took it serious. I didn't realize it was quite this.
They just had a Whitingham.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that I asked Jake about is these trees right here really serve no purpose. They're kind of, the one on the right is not totally leaning in the road, but it's starting to lean towards the road. They're just kind of drop a lot of branches. They're low and in the lines. It'd be nice if somebody had time. I asked them to cut those down and chip them onto the embankment that they just did. That's not a necessity by any means.
Did the tree warden look at them?
Nobody's did. I just asked them at our meeting the other day, as far as we got with it. It was, I mean, I can.
In the town right away, we will have to have the tree warden take a look and make a recommendation, just the process.
They're your trees.
No, I don't disagree. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that there's a process.
Yeah, I got it. It's like I think they're maples. They're definitely not dying, but they're definitely not overly healthy. They're just kind of in the way. The other thing, they were actually nice enough. They went down and cleared a lot of the dead, some invasive species and some dead juniper bushes that were down there that were would fill with trash. And then they got cut down and they died. And now they kind of pose a safety hazard. They got them down there and graded the hill up. That'll get covered with something.
I think your father's actually the one that planted those junipers.
He was. I can remember being a kid doing them. The other thing that we're doing, I don't know if you gotta go up or down, is we need to. I think we missed the building.
No, I was just.
Oh, yeah. So this building was something that the Old Men's Softball League put together. It's not in horrible shape. The roof, you can see where the bitchethanes on the roof was a patch. That's where the buildings were joined. Water leaks through there. They ran out of concrete. The co-president with me, Jeremy Kingsbury, he's one of the co-owners of Salmon Falls Builders. He wants to, he's going to cover, just pay for it himself, but he wants to put a real shallow, just a roof over that concrete to get out of the weather so we can stop. If it's raining outside, it tends to rain in that spot in the building, so it's tough to keep the floor dry. It's just, we can keep putting the bituthane on it. It's like good for a year, maybe 2, but the sun just beats on that concrete all day and it's not really right. So he wants to just put a quick roof over it, and it's actually gonna extend a little bit on the back to have a little storage space to put some equipment, just during the season, to get it out of because we kind of shove everything in that building. But we'd like permission to do that. And then, I think the last thing that I had, was just the ADA stuff that goes with the paving that got done down here. We're gonna install a handicap bench right here. It's sitting behind that bleacher. We'll install it during one of our work bee days.
Great.
But what we need for that and for the handicap spot is signage and paint. I just kind of threw that in there because we talked about it at the meeting. It's not really anything. I said that I can paint the lines if the town doesn't want to tackle that. It's not that hard. It's just a couple hours with some string, and
So,
I just have to get the right paint.
so do you need to extend this walkway here?
That walkway's in the wrong spot, but we can leave it where it is.
Okay.
Unless you're gonna have Johnson come back and put it back where they were supposed to put it. Which, we can, it's not gonna really matter. That bench is gonna go right on
Love
the
it when you
edge of
come
it.
in, Zach. I do.
What?
I do. I love it when you come in.
No, it's fine where it is. We're gonna put the bench right on the edge of it, but we just need to put a sign on it that says, handicap.
Okay.
That demarcates it as the seating for people with accessibility issues. So
Okay.
that, yeah, and the handicap
And
parking
the
sign will
sign.
have to go back.
Back up here.
Right down here in the corner, we can put a couple spots there.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the town guys don't wanna paint them, I've done it,
No,
and I can
because
paint
they're
'em.
gonna do the sidewalks out
Perfect, okay.
here, so they can do it at the same time.
Okay, yeah. Other than that, just basic upkeep for the year, but with wanting to put the fence in and do in the roof on the we'd love permission to do that. It's zero cost for the town. We have volunteers and funds and that know how to do it. But it's your guys' building. So I need you to tell me I'm okay to do it. And then the lights, when it comes time to do the lights, that's gonna be a bigger conversation, because there's some infrastructure with that we're gonna have to move. Namely, the electrical is gonna have to come from the outfield block building to this block building.
I think we wanna do infrastructure, we wanna do water, sewer, and electric. So I think that it would be important that we coordinate so that we're not
Yeah.
having redundant contractors, and we'll work with Rebecca and Dan on the utilities and Eversource on the wiring. You said you have a contractor?
Put the lights up?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a company I work for.
great.
We do transmission work, so we have all the equipment.
And they can do the underground, they can do the trenching? Or would somebody?
I'll get it done.
Okay.
Whether we do it or I call in a favor to one of the local guys that'll do it. If I won't do it, I'm sure Countryscape or Wild Roots or one of the other coaches
Okay.
will do it.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get it done. It's just really the electrical to the building and I guess if we're gonna make any more changes to that building, being anything that needs water or sewer, once it's to the building, we can handle it.
Just figure once, if we're gonna rip everything up, let's rip it all up at once
The
and.
nice thing, that's the nice part about the way this is all laid out now. You don't
Yeah.
need to rip anything up. It can all be laid.
Well, when we did the blacktop, we pulled a lot of, we buried some old cord that was no longer.
Yeah, and then there's a dead one that's up on that 2x sticking up right
Yeah.
there is the one that was questionable, but
Yeah.
all that's not, we're not gonna follow. We'd be crazy to follow the existing. There's shorter
the shorter routes.
That's the
yeah.
most expensive way possible to do that. So, we just need to-
Cindy?
The rec committee supports this project fully, unanimously. We had a full committee last week and total support. This is great. But we'll probably, we're going to be going for a park grant and hopefully that will go down there. We feel that we need to have some sort of feasibility study done, get it all kind of planned out, not just kind of jump into it and do one thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, you have not just the baseball field to think about too, you've got everything out behind there, the
Exactly.
pavilion and,
The changing of the fence is gonna create a lot of space. It'll make that park really open way up. I mean, not
well,
just.
and that was, years ago when a couple of years ago when we were talking about it, was potentially using that added space there for possibly a dog park.
The dog park. But it'll be nice for, I think, I mean, obviously it'll be nice for the Little League to have that shorter fence. It's less upkeep for us and for keeping the field. You don't need to mow that green space nearly as much as the field, but I think it's gonna open that area up and it'll create a viable kind of space that people will wanna use. It won't all be kind of tucked under the trees like it is now. It'll be out in the open. It'll be a nice space.
So to Cindy's point of the park grant, so that's an application that does require a match. My understanding is that we're going to look at whether if we do water sewer, we can use some of the youth baseball's work as part of our match, part of our in-kind. I think that what we would apply for would be the feasibility study, to be able to hire an architect that could take a look at that space in its entirety. That would make us eligible for a construction grant the following year. So I think that REC is going to look at,
Right, and also
Yeah.
open it up to the community to have some sort of forum so that we can get.
No, absolutely.
And have everybody involved.
yeah.
This space is no longer just, Little League space. There's, I'm in there, during baseball season, I'm in there every 6 days a week. In the sunnier seasons when we're getting ready, I'm in there, 3 days a week, and there's always people walking. And there's always kids down playing on the field.
Trying to
So-
find a good picture of the park, no picture of the park itself.
The one that's behind there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the horseshoe pit right there. It goes
Yeah,
this way, but it is you'll end up with
right.
that hole, and that really is, it's a lot of space. It is a lot of space that it will open.
And it would be a nice community gathering spot for the, Buckland Rec is fantastic, and it certainly is a draw for the community, but having this park area developed as more of a community space, I think it's time.
I think it bookends all the work that you guys are doing to the South Street area, the South Street Conway Summer, and in turn the downtown.
Yeah.
It's a nice kind of end bookend for the edge of the village.
Right.
Is
Absolutely.
being able to have a park like that. So that's really all I have. It sounds like a lot more than it is, but for this year, roof and fence in the outfield are the two really big ones that we kind of have to do. We don't have to do the fence, but that we would really like to do. The roof is kind of a must, I think, at this point.
yeah. Well, most of that fence is actually already marked out, because all the holes are there from the old temporary fence that we had.
Yeah, there's a lot of plugs there. It's gonna be a permanent fence. It won't be a plugged one. It'll be a full-blown. I've installed a lot of chain link, and we're gonna put up, it'll be a 4-foot high galvanized with a top rail. It'll be a real live chain link fence. We'll put gates in for mowers, and we're actually gonna leave space for mowers off one side or the other. Yeah, it'll just run around the outfield. It'll connect on the right side, but not the left, because there's no fence there. But yeah, that's what the plan is.
So for the the record would probably want a motion to give youth baseball permission to do the work. Just,
I would make a motion to allow the youth baseball league to move the fence and repair the roof on the concession stand.
I second it.
Any further discussion?
No, sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, this is something that, these were projects that I was thinking of 15 years ago, so I'm glad to see them finally starting to come to fruition, so.
Yeah, me and Jeremy are by no means the architects of this plan. We're just trying to push it across the
trying to make
finish
it happen.
line. Yeah.
Yep. I know we've spent a few years hounding Jeremy on it, so
Yeah.
he stopped having kids, so now we gotta catch them before they're all gone.
10 years.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good with me?
Yep.
Great. You guys enjoy your meeting?
Zach.
It's nice seeing everyone.
Thank you for coming in.
No problem.
All right, moving on to our agenda items. We have, so from our last meeting, there has been a slight revision of the short-term rental bylaw.
So everything that you have written there no longer applies. So, but that's why John's here.
Perfect timing, John.
John, you want to take the hot seat?
I did not prepare anything,
Okay.
and you have the text, I know.
Just be supportive.
Oh, absolutely.
Just be supportive. Okay. As we know, the planning board has been working for, has it been more than a year now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of 22, and maybe a little before that.
Yeah. So for a little while, on the short-term rental zoning bylaw amendment, about halfway through their initiative, we realized that a general bylaw would also be necessary. So they've been working on them as a package deal. But technically, they're only responsible under 40A for the zoning bylaw amendment part. The general bylaw comes under your jurisdiction. But they have been gracious enough to continue to write it on our behalf, so thank you. This has been through several revisions with town council, and in deference to not wanting to push work onto other boards and committees, we had originally looked at the short-term rental general bylaw being under the purview of the select board as licensing authority. Town council's most recent review of it indicated that the majority of communities, including our neighbors across the bridge, it does live with the Board of Health as the license authority as well as the enforcement authority. So rather than recreate the wheel and make it more difficult for potential applicants to maneuver our bylaw versus that in neighboring communities, we have brought them in line so that the Board of Health, which would be specifically CPHS, so not our local board, not Peggy, Julie, and Carmella, but the folks at the FERCog would be responsible for the licensing portion of this. It would flow through the town clerk's office. Our town clerk would be responsible for receiving the application and coordinating with the building inspection program as well as the health inspection program and assigning the registration number. But everything else would be with the Board of Health. So this is a change since the last time that you met and approved the bylaw. That is the only difference between the document that you received last week and what you have in front of you now, is that we've changed it from the select board to the Board of Health.
Okay.
Which, again, we find to be not only how
Makes
everybody
sense.
else does it,
Yeah.
and
Now, are they the ones that are doing that for the town of Shelburne as well?
Yep.
Give her a copy?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
And so we've added sanitary code next to the words building code in all the appropriate locations in the bylaw itself. As you'll see here, sanitary and proof of compliance with sanitary and building codes. I've had conversations with Randy Crosher, who is the public health manager, and he is very fine with adding Buckland and keeping it as consistent as possible. Makes his job easier. So the next step from here would be your reapproval
Okay.
of this bylaw for inclusion on the town meeting warrant. And then the town clerk and I are going to work on a application that we would then bring back to you for your review. And at that time, we'd be asking you to set a fee. And we're going to work on getting you some fees from other towns so that
Yeah,
we're
that's good.
in line with what others are charging. And that would be the last step before town meeting. The goal is to have this application and fee schedule in place before town meeting, since we know that, especially for those short-term rentals that are already in existence, the clock starts ticking. You've given them 6 months. Is that the, yep. So they'll have 6 months to get their applications completed and filed in order to be grandfathered in. So we'll not want to wait until the day after town meeting. We're going to want it ready
Makes sense.
when you go to town meeting.
John, did you guys have to have another public meeting?
We have not yet had our public hearing, which
Okay.
will be the 26th.
So
Right.
keeping in mind that the general bylaw does not require a public hearing, only the zoning bylaw. However, we've talked about this somewhat extensively, that because residents will be expecting to be able to address both amendments, the general and the zoning, town council is going to be available for that night, so he can answer and deflect any questions specific to the general bylaw. Well, I mean, fair's fair, right? It is the same night as your next select board meeting. So as we're wrapping up, they'll be getting underway. So, you know.
Well, I'm just curious to think, is this something that we need to vote on now, or should we just maybe wait until after you guys have your public hearing on it, in case any more changes come down the pipeline after that?
I'm okay with
I mean, I
that.
have no
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
voting on it.
I just would want to know if you were intending to not move this along to the town meeting warrant. That's the only part that's relevant to me.
Right.
Because I want to make sure that I'm saving the space, but.
Yeah. I mean, we already voted on it at our last meeting, so, and now just the only changes are these few things and having it pushed over from our plate to the Board of Health, so, I'm always happy taking stuff off of our plate, so.
I figured that might be your response.
Yeah. I also think, though, that it's significant that the planning board and that town council, when they're addressing the public at the public meeting, know that this is endorsed by the select board. So whether or not you take an official vote tonight, maybe not as necessary as just sort of understanding that this is something that you're in support of.
Well, I like being consistent with the other towns.
Yes.
So we can't say that we're being prejudiced or whatever, that this is fair.
Well, but it's not even that, it's making, it's making things easier for everybody that's gonna be overseeing and enforcing this.
Great.
If they're enforcing it for that town, they're enforcing the same thing for this town.
Correct.
So, that just, it makes sense all around. I would have no problem, obviously endorsing this. Like I said, we did at our last meeting, and accepting this. I just think if, there's gonna be more changes coming down the pipeline, then
It is our goal not to have
Well, yeah, I think that was probably your goal 2 years ago, though.
We had to figure it out first, but I do think that it's, as Heather was pointing out, it's much more solid to
Right.
have your approval going in.
Yep.
And then if, I mean, we can't.
I mean, I guess if we vote on it tonight, then, you know, after your public hearing, if there's no other changes, it doesn't even have to
It's
come
done.
back to us then.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I guess we'll, I will make a motion to accept the changes for the short-term rentals as written.
I second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Moving on, the police station building contents disposition options.
Of course, it hasn't changed since this morning, so.
Okay.
Knock
Wait
on
till
wood.
tomorrow morning, though.
Great.
Thank you,
Good
John.
night, Joan.
Joan, you want to take the lead on this one?
This is about all the junk that's in the building? Right.
Well, that's one way of putting it, sure.
Well, actually, there's useful things that they're, having given tours of the police station, there's a lot of stuff that's been left behind. Some of it is police-oriented, like batons and stuff that I would hope that, some police department could use, but I think that we could sell a lot of the stuff. Have a big tax sale in the basement or whatever. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know if anyone is going to, the people who are buying the building, whether they're going to want the desks that are there. But I'm wondering, rather than us doing the work, that you hire someone who does that sort of thing. And they can price it and everything. I mean, I saw all these really vintage DARE posters. Someone might want to buy those, That might be, unless someone here feels they can price everything out, there's jackets, there's all kinds of stuff.
So I did look at 30B, and this is an allowable method, a yard sale, if you will, a municipal yard sale is an allowable form of disposition under 30B. We'd have to advertise it. I don't have an appropriation to hire a professional. If there was a professional who would take a portion of the proceeds in
Usually
lieu
do
of payment,
yeah.
then that would be something I'm happy to look at. Otherwise, I would, I would say that
We have a professional buildings and grounds person.
we have a professional, we have a full staff. I think that this would be an all-hands-on-deck type of project. We might even enlist a few volunteers. Some of the items could be put up on municipal. The DARE posters, for example, might get more traction on the online auction sites. But I guess I just need to know from the board how you would like me to proceed, besides just get it done.
If you, most people will take a percentage of the profit when they
Okay.
do that. But if we don't want to do that, the stuff's just in a pile there. It has to be
it's a
all
mess.
sorted out and stuff, and I'm not quite certain if we have volunteers among our, town officials to help out with that. I don't know, might be helpful to go down and take another look.
Well, the clock is ticking. April 8th will be here before we know it, and we'll want to have some movement
Right.
on at least, I think, the basement items, as well as some of the computer equipment that's upstairs.
I think we should invite Chief Bardwell or anyone staff to come over and see if there's anything useful to them.
I think we should probably have Chief Bardwell go down there and remove anything that can't be sold to the public.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, we know that there's a few
Like the
items.
batons.
Yeah, that's the batons,
Yeah,
yes.
understood.
And just maybe have him do one last walk through the place and, even if you were to just put stuff off into a pile to say, this needs to get destroyed,
Yeah.
type of deal.
There is an attic that is, from what I understand, full of municipal records from when the town hall,
I've been there.
yeah.
It's interesting.
There's also a lot of bats, so I'm
There's not that
not.
many up there.
One is plenty, right? One is enough.
I just bought some bat boxes if you need help moving them to my house.
Great, great. We'll lay some bat bait all the way up the hill. That'd be fantastic. That's a good idea.
So, I mean, what steps do we want to take to do that? First, have Chief Bible come over?
I think that should be the first step, is to have him go in, walk the entire building, and,
Or his designee.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yep.
And give
Well,
him,
but I mean, it probably actually should be him, because he's the one that is the keeper of the records for the police department. So
Fair enough.
he should be the one saying yea or nay, and anything that needs to be, if it's stuff that needs to be shredded, you know, getting that taken care of.
I think
Anything that
he's-
needs to be destroyed, getting that taken care of.
There are not any, there is one bag to be shredded, but I think that before we call the shredding company, we'll empty the attic,
Yeah.
so that we're doing that all
Yeah,
at
but even
once.
some of those records, they might be lifetime records that they have to hold on to as well, so.
We will use the public records
Gotta go through 'em.
disposal list. Don't worry,
I know you will.
don't worry. But,
we would hope that he would be able to do it soon. Then we'll find out what's left
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll take them long to go through now and just say, you know,
I feel like, we've listed the house and then realized we're supposed to move, you know.
They left behind a lot of stuff there.
There was a lot of stuff.
What about
happening.
that big bumper there that's?
you should have seen all the stuff that was there before.
I know.
Like the old
They
cruiser?
didn't leave a lot of stuff.
At least the cruiser's gone.
At least the cruiser's gone, yes.
Okay, so ask the Shelburne Police Chief to make a walkthrough, start removing
your
the
thing.
public records, and then investigate whether or not there's a company that would come in and assist with the sale of any of the additional stuff.
Might be the people who have these secondhand stores on there too, or whatever, maybe they do that. If not, if
Maybe you could have your good old fashioned auction. I know how you like auctions.
I do like a good auction. I don't know, so the only auction people that I've worked with though are property auctioneers.
You have.
I mean, I don't know if that's
David's
somebody
in
like-
town. Maybe he'd be willing to donate his time to do an auction.
Okay, I didn't know he was an auctioneer. Cool. I know, oh, I thought you
I
had your
don't know
hand.
if there's really anything of that value that you would do an auction for there. Having looked at all that
A
stuff.
bumper?
Heather just likes to hear the auctions.
She likes to hear the
I
auction.
like the energy of it.
Yeah, well, it's-
Yeah, I think he's teasing me more than
Okay,
anything.
all right.
I don't.
didn't get that.
Yeah,
joke.
no,
Okay,
I
sorry.
think he's just teasing. So the direction is to start making plans to get that building emptied out.
Yep.
Following public records and following procurement. Gotcha.
Okay, and if we have to do it ourselves, we'll do it ourselves, selling it.
$50, $55 for a dare post.
Yeah.
There's a whole stack of them, they're beautiful. Yeah, although I'm not going to talk about my deer experience.
Yeah, I love
We all have our deer.
drawing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won a dare in like 6th grade.
Okay, well, all right. So you can let us know how cheap I vote for each lot.
Okay.
That's-
And then, do we need to bring up the CPHS and Jake relocation? Is that,
So I'm meeting with Randy on the 19th to discuss alternative locations within the village, perhaps even a space here in Town Hall for the for the public health services, especially since we're giving them more work to do. And Jake, I think we've identified space here in the town hall for his laptop. He might be bunking in with me in my office, just give, he's really only there to check email and make sure that projects are on track, and that usually involves a conversation with me, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the other issue is that there's quite a bit of our PPE material in that basement, that, an excessive amount of surgical masks that we'll have to find an alternative home for.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have some in-house stuff that we have to sort through,
Mm-hmm.
and we will.
Okay. The fiscal 25 budget draft review.
So I didn't print out a draft for you because it is still showing a negative bottom line, and I feel like that's just bad karma. So Finance Committee met last night and reviewed the draft. They've asked me to look to cover the balance, which, as I said, is about $4,500, and put a $20,000 cushion in the levy. They've asked that I split that between cuts from services and take a look at where we can increase our revenue projections, to split the difference. Talking with the town accountant today, we've identified several local receipt areas, motor vehicles, meals tax, room tax, where we could look at increasing our revenue projections in those areas. We are not likely to look at new growth, even though we've had a healthy new growth track record over the past three years. It's just not an area that we see growing as fast as, or as consistently as we would to make an increase there. The other thing to take into consideration is that this year's budget also includes a $50,000 surplus overlay, I guess, credit from the Board of Assessors. That is a one-time revenue resource. It is not, it won't be available to us next year. So the fact that we're still dragging a little bit this year with the 50,000 buffer means that true deficit is more like $5,500. So just be something that I'm concerned about and conscientious of as we move forward. And of course, the more we share services, which is always a good thing, and improve services, the more we lock ourselves into assessments that we don't have any authority to change. So just, there's very few locations in the budget that can be reduced. Anyhow, that's the update, and we're working to find, that $15,000 or so in reductions for the FY25.
How much do we have, how much do we put aside for snow and ice?
Yeah, I
Is
was
it
thinking-
25?
No, you put it,
Or is it 50?
no, 98,000 in salaries and 145 in expenses. This year, the Finance Committee asked that I move the 145 to 150, simply because if you remain, you can never reduce your snow and ice, but if you leave it stagnant for too long and then you continue to have year after year of deficit spending, DOR starts pushing back a little bit. So in good faith, we agreed that this year, after 4 years of that budget being at 145, we had decided we'd move it to 150. And I think that's a good move. That's not an area that I'm looking to cut.
Right, do we know what that line is looking at right now?
We're in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely in good shape. But, you know, what is?
I mean, obviously, we're not done yet, but.
No, that's been it's been a nice season. It's been a good season. But the issue really is that it's not an area that we can reduce.
Right.
You know, so, police, we did get our police shared services assessment yesterday, and that did represent a $37,000 increase over last year. We anticipated the increase, but it's a bigger number than, you know, 11%.
We anticipated it, but we didn't budget for it with the override last year.
No, yeah,
We didn't have a solid number that we were gonna be looking at either.
Right.
So we guesstimated it and we got close.
Yeah. So that's your update. It's not a very cheerful one, and
So what's that number again that you're working to?
so the actual deficit is about $4,500 right now. But knowing that budgeting at the levy is poor practice, and typically we like to go into town meeting with at least $20,000 to $30,000 over. So that's where I intend to get us. So
You know, between you and the finance committee,
we'll find it.
you'll find it.
We'll find it.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm being transparent, that $4,000 is not really $4,000, it's $54,000.
Okay.
That's, you know, that's the important takeaway, I think, from today's update, is that in addition to all of the additional increases, you know, as we continue to watch that regional school budget, as we watch all of our assessments, knowing that we're sort of starting to run out of couch cushions to flip.
To find money underneath?
Right. Oh, I can also say that of the $397,000 that the town certified in free cash, the only capital expense that the Finance Committee is looking seriously to recommend for your adoption would be the purchase of a $35,000 water pump for the Buckland Rec. I think we've talked about that. Cindy and Dan have brought that to you in the past, but that the balance of that $397 would be put into stabilization, whether it all goes into general stabilization or whether they recommend divvying it up between highway, police, technology. They haven't made that decision yet, but. So, it's a year for savings. I'm sorry, you keep moving
You're
it.
moving my hand so much, but I will say something at public comment.
Okay.
Good, that's it for that for now.
Yeah, I mean, I could keep giving you the news, but that's enough bad news for one night.
Okay. So appointments, we have a cultural council appointment for Kim Klein. I did see her application here.
Yeah. Cynthia Fisher, who is the current chair of the Cultural Council, confirms that it is a 3-year term that they would fill.
Okay. This is just an appointed committee, correct?
Correct.
All right. I would make a motion to appoint Kim Klein to the Cultural Council.
I second it.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Serving?
We have 2 appointments that are sort of on deck that I'd like to bring to your attention. One is that Regina Parrington has expressed an interest in serving as your second to the Senior Center Board of Managers position. So I expect to have her volunteer form for you at your next meeting. And also Glenn Geeky has expressed an interest in the police, Shared Police Service Board of Advisors. I think I'm getting that committee right. However, if there are others that are interested in that position, we do have that one vacancy on that board. People should reach out and let us know. We're anxious to get that group up and running.
Yeah, I think we're hoping to have that group hitting the ground by July 1st.
Right. And I'll say the same thing that I said to the Finance Committee last night, is that it was always sort of the understanding, at least on my behalf, that your police liaisons, which for the Select Board is Clint, and for the Finance Committee is Bob Dean, would serve as your representatives on that on that advisory board. However, Clint, are you good with accepting that, or did you want to put that up for the board's discussion?
I will leave it up to the board, but I would take it on.
Okay. Well, maybe if I get
I'm open.
if I get the application from Glenn or from anybody else that might be interested, we could just vote on them all at once and make it official?
Sure.
Great.
That would give Joe a couple more weeks to think about it.
Well, I mean, it's an important position because that's the board that will be working to make sure that the assessment that is accurate and best serving Buckland's residents.
Yeah, and not catching us off guard in the first week of March.
Not their fault. Not their fault.
All right. And then we also have a inspector of animals. We have Martha Taft Ferguson. Let me see.
This is a state appointment that you affirmed?
That's right. Yep. I would make a motion to appoint Martha Taft Ferguson to the Inspector of Animals for the town of Buckland.
Second that?
With many thanks.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Contract and grant documents. We didn't have any of those, right? Permits and licenses, we didn't have any. Minutes and warrants. So we have the minutes. Well, Mary was on the job here this week.
Oh, no, it's just the 27th.
Yeah. Yes, but the 27th.
Yeah, I know.
That was a long
That was
meeting.
a long meeting. Yeah, it was.
So, I move to accept the minutes for the February 27th Select Board meeting. Meeting.
I second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll also move to approve the vendor and payroll warrants. It's going to be warrant 24-20 for both.
Second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Items not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have nothing. Select board member concerns?
Today.
Nothing today. Town administrator's report.
Just those dare posters.
I have two items for you tonight. One is from the town clerk. It being a busy election season, election year, rather than coming to you with each request for a robocall from the Blackboard Connect system, she is wondering if you would accept a sort of a open-ended, she can send a call out in 1 week to 3 days before each election.
So moved.
So moved. Great.
Do we need to vote on it?
Yes. Well, Your policy says that anybody besides the senior center needs your express permission to use the robocall, the Blackboard Connect, which is fine. But I think that given how busy the election year is going to be, it's prudent to take care of them all at
She will
once.
abuse the system.
She will not. She will not.
Can I have a second?
Oh, second, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then,
I have a question. How do people sign up for that?
it's on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
if
maybe people
anybody-
want to know that, yeah.
So the Department of Conservation and Recreation, commonly known as DCR, who supported and funded our community wood bank, reached out now that we have all of our equipment procured and on site, and has asked to schedule the first annual community wood bank wood cutting day or wood processing day. We're tentatively looking at April 20th. This would be a volunteer effort that would be supervised by the Department of Conservation and Recreation. We would propose to have it at the old, what do you call it on Conway Road? The
Stump dump?
Yeah, the depository?
The old stump dump.
The old stump dump, okay. We propose to set everything up out there.
I thought we were setting up a space at the highway garage.
So that would be a good,
Isn't that where all the logs are?
they would like to move them to the depository, but that would be a good conversation to have as the liaison to highway. Just
Well, this is
confirm
the
it,
first time
I
hearing
know,
of it.
no, I know.
And I just talked to Anthony
We-
yesterday, and he mentioned it,
Yeah,
so.
he's got a lot on his plate. The idea is that we would supply all of the safety gear, chaps, glasses, helmet, gloves, the equipment. There really would be something, a work task for any and all volunteers, whether it's processing, splitting, or stacking. We hope to get between three and 5 cords done that day, depending upon whether or not, depending on how many people volunteer and what their skill level is. DCR is willing to bring out some additional equipment so we could have several sites set up. The purpose of this particular day would be to introduce volunteers to the equipment. Obviously, if you volunteer, you're entitled to a portion, some of the wood, but also to create a pile, or I'm using the wrong terminology, a stack, a quantity of split wood that would be available to residents back at the highway garage site. They're building a free box next to where the sand and salt is. That would be sort of continuously available there, and volunteers would be on hand to kind of keep that up.
That's great.
What?
So they're gonna move everything down to there to split it and then move it all back?
I don't micromanage. I do not micromanage. I understand that they're feeling that if they set everything up there, then they're going to have limited space when we are building the salt shed. I think that their intention was to relocate the wood bank.
When are you gonna be
equipment.
posting this?
Am I going to be posting this?
Yes.
When you tell me I can. Again, knowing that this is a good location that's off-site, that will keep the equipment, that we've ordered using the DCR Challenge Grant some Connex boxes. Am I saying that right?
So we're getting the Connex boxes through the grant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my only hangup is, are we gonna have to pay for storage to store all the equipment in there?
No, we have a challenge grant for that in the amount of about $11,000. that we're using to procure the Connex boxes.
Now, is that for rental of a Connex box,
No,
or is
that's
that
purchase.
purchasing? Okay.
Purchase. Yeah. Anyway,
Then I'm all for it now.
I'm not hung up where this is. I'm just anxious to have DCR to honor, one of the agreements when we accepted the terms of we accepted the grant funds was that we have it be a volunteer community wood bank, and we have yet to be able to offer that. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, volunteers of all levels, whether you want to stack or process the wood, there'll be pizza. That's going to be my job.
What day is that going to take?
April 20th. It's a Saturday morning.
Please put that in the two-town news.
Oh, we will. But I want to make sure that...
I think that's when I'm in Europe.
You're in Europe?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. April 20th.
Oh, that's good.
Son's school trip.
Ah, cool. So what is a Connex box? I'm sorry, I don't know what
It's
that
one of
is.
those big storage containers like you see on the ships.
Oh, okay.
That's
all right.
Connex box.
Okay, thank you.
But it'll allow us to lock everything up and keep it protected from the elements.
All the equipment, safety equipment
Yeah.
can go right in there.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. I was wondering about that.
I wanted a nice wooden pavilion that would be attractive, but I was overruled on the account of it not being practical and or secure. So,
Well, and I mean, I think that's kind of my other struggle is the security down there. Even though it's in a Connex box and it's being locked, it's away from everything.
it is.
And there's a lot of very expensive equipment that will be going into that box. So,
Well, let's
me-
leave
let me
the
talk to Anthony
locate.
tomorrow.
I'd like to move ahead with confirming the date with DCR, and then you can let me know about the location. Or would you like,
Is that the only date they had?
no? I don't know. It was the date we agreed on. We didn't know you were going to be in Europe.
I kind of want to be here too.
Okay, all right. Well, keep in mind too that we're going to do, this is sort of the initiation. This is the kickoff. But yes, you should be there. You're the chair of the select board, for sure.
Well, it's not, I don't even mind that portion of it.
And
I just-
you know how to use a lot of the equipment, so that would be helpful.
Like the split wood.
Yeah. You do have to wear all of the safety gear.
I want photos.
Yeah, that is
You do too, while you're handing.
yeah, absolutely. That is totally non-negotiable.
Yeah, no, if that's the only short-term date that they have.
No,
If they don't,
I can look. When are you back?
I think that's
Ish.
actually the weekend I come back.
Okay. So maybe the following week? Maybe April 27th?
No, you know what, just keep with the 20th, and I'll get to the next one. So,
Well, okay. We'll have a rain date.
yeah, because I'm actually tied up the 27th too, so.
Anyways, this is going to be a really nice addition to the community. I know that there's a lot of people here in the community that heat with wood, and to have access to the wood without cost will be a benefit. I don't anticipate putting an income eligibility or any sort of restriction on it at this time. I think we'll wait and see. Right now, we have such a surplus of wood.
I
We're
believe
actually,
Paul Rain just did one too.
yeah, well, theirs is not a town-supported wood bank. It is strictly volunteer, but they ran out of wood, and so our crew processed a couple cords and brought it down to them last week. They were very happy to have that available for their residents. And I think we can, be reciprocal for Conway and Ashfield as well. While they're all lining up to get these similar grants so that they can have the same opportunities for theirs.
It's a good program, I mean, there's there's a lot of people still in the area that,
Well, and when the utilities are, out there taking down trees, and a lot of times, the property owners would probably love the wood, but they don't have access to the processing equipment to get it. So this is a way to provide that, clean up the side of the road, and get them some wood.
agree?
So those are my two things for you tonight.
So
Unless
I
you
would
have any
say, let's stick with the 20th.
Okay, and you'll get back to me on a location?
Yeah, I will call you tomorrow with a
Okay.
location. I'll talk to Anthony in the morning.
Okay. Well, even the end of the week. So, no rush.
Don't tell me that, because you usually end up calling me at the end of the week, saying, hey, you forgot to do this.
I know.
All right, public comment.
I know Kate's here to talk.
Hey everybody, I'm Kate Chadwick. Do you guys want me to come over? Okay. So my name's Kate Chadwick. I am the co-coordinator of Village of Flowers. We'll be speaking, there'll be a few more of us here at your next meeting to give you more information, but just really short, kind of brief, what is Village of Flowers? The mission behind it, the vision, is a response to the Bridge of Flowers being closed. So how, as a community, can we come together and form kind of like new connections, new bridges, to market the community, promote all the other things that are happening in our community. Think hashtag kind of like Beyond the Bridge for the year. So like the bridge is the highlight of our community, right? And it has so many, not awards, but accolations. They, Yankee Magazine is always doing things on it. So it's almost like bringing tentacles out from the bridge into different aspects of the community. So beautification projects, storefronts, some other groups are planning, including the Bridge of Flowers Committee, to do garden tours. Going to be reaching out to like the Iron Bridge dinner and the road race to let them know about the theme and give them suggestions on how they could utilize it, which was done back in the day for the 100th anniversary of the Mohawk Trail. So that was more of a regional initiative. This is definitely much more village-centric. So that's it. We'll have a lot more information. We're gathering together wholesale prices right now from Sheldon Farm and Garden, and also Fairview up in Northfield for the businesses. And hopefully we will also be able to offer some kind of maybe discount code or potential maybe wholesale prices for residents. Both Buckland and Shelburne the towns seem to be on board. I've talked to both Heather and Terry, and they've just a couple of suggestions not to do like road bridge projects this year, just due to dig safe and some other safety concerns. So we want to definitely focus just on this year, but of course there's always the potential to make this an annual event and have this grow. And so this year it may be on a small scale. The planters may not be completely overflowing. It may not be like a Northern European village. But there's also that vision that it could become something like that. Definitely not a replacement. You cannot replace the Bridge of Flowers, but just additional beautification and just to showcase what our village is, the beauty that's already here, just to highlight it. So that's the vision.
That's great.
Questions? Okay. Next meeting, we'll definitely be bringing you guys a lot more information.
Excellent. Look forward to it. Thank you. Lynn?
Okay. Minnie Kelsey, Buckland. First thing I wanted to say was I am over the moon happy with the fact that Buckland and Shelburne joined police services. It's such a significant difference. I hope you feel the same way. I don't know what the difference in budgetary costs are, but from a service standpoint, I see a lot more visibility of blue license plates. So, yeah, thank you for pulling that off. It was a pretty big deal. The other thing I wanted to mention, I sat in on a meeting a few months ago, and it inspired me to put an article, an opinion piece in the paper. It was short and sweet. I hope you saw it, and that's why I'm mentioning it. It was mini goats, greatest of all time, and I mentioned 3 facilities. One was the Buckland employees, the second one was the Berniston Senior Center, and the third, I don't remember what the third was. So in any case, I'm nervous, sorry. And why I wanted to say that, I mentioned the Berniston Senior Center. I go up there, and I only have to pay $20 a month for my foot clinic. And the Shelburne Falls Senior Center charges seniors $35. And as I know about the different senior centers in Coleraine and Chalamont, because I have families that live in both towns, there's a significant difference from town to town, what services they provide and the difference in cost. So as a board member, I was hoping that you could be aware of that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Announcements and upcoming meetings. We have our next select board meeting is going to be March 26th at 5:30, Heather?
Yes.
Okay. Also on March 26th, the planning board public hearing will be in person only at 7 p.m. to discuss the short-term rental. And looks like that's all we have on task for March. Would make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and have a good night.